Hello everyone, and welcome to a new thing that I may be doing or I may not be doing depending on my mood, that I'm going to start calling Callum's Pointless Rants, where I'm probably just going to say random stuff. Some of it may be political, some may not be political, and it's going to be very rough because I can't edit to save my life, and it's probably just going to do something or other along the lines of be remotely amusing. So, one moment. There'll be a period of silence here. I apologize for this period of silence. I still live in my grandparents' house, and it's kind of embarrassing to talk while they're around. Talking while they're around when they can't physically see any of you makes me sound like a crazy person. And I have been called a crazy person many times, but still not the greatest, you know. The way that I act, I do come across as a bit off. And I believe that people say that people are off because it's different to how they act. I will be quick in one moment. Right. I believe that people call someone crazy because they can't figure out a way to understand what's going through their head. And I'd say that's what most other people believe as well. I'm called crazy occasionally. I've been called many things over my time. Some by me, some by other parts of me, some by other people. I've been called crazy, mad. What else have I been called? Psychotic. I've been called many things. And it's mostly due to the actions I take. Most people believe I'm mad because I constantly talk to myself. And this may be interpreted as talking to myself, even though I'm talking into a device that will allow me to record my voice and publish it on a website to gain no revenue, but just because I like doing it. They've called me psychotic because I seem to take joy in others' pain. While that is only partially true, because I also have the other conflicting opinion in my mind that I despise hurting people. The way I see it, for some reason in my mind, there's two conflicting opinions that are both believed wholeheartedly. One where I should hurt a person, and one where I shouldn't. Kind of like a devil and angel situation. Except this devil and this angel appear to be devout followers of their own little cult of whatever. And you couldn't convince either of them of the points of another person. Which ends up making me sound mad. It's also the reason I have a very hard time creating any sort of opinion or, decision. It's almost impossible. Now, since I can't remember the other thing I've been called, we're going to go on to another topic. As you may remember from about a year ago, I made a video about ranting about modern feminism that may be added to Callum's list of pointless rants. But I believe that if modern feminism, the kind I spoke about last time, because there is a difference. There's the feminists that you can admire, that do want rights for women and, all that good jazz that they deserve. But then there's the other side that just seem to want the balance to tip another way. Kind of like a child that didn't get a gift Christmas. They want 10 more. They want 10 times the gifts they got the year before the next Christmas. They want more than equality. They want it to shift from what it used to be, a patriarchy, to what they want, a matriarchy. They want all control. They don't want men around. They want us to be considered bugs, which I don't think is fair. The world is like a puzzle, and you can't see the full picture of a puzzle if you're missing half the pieces. Then the puzzle holds no merit, and then you throw out the puzzle. I mean, we have to rely on each other. Women once probably brought up the point that they can now create children using the bone marrow. The only problem is, the genes you get from that are completely recessive. They're your own genes put into your cells. It's like having sex with a sibling or a twin. It is essentially the same prospect as incest, and the only reason incest is illegal, most of the time, is because humans consider it disgusting, and because it has physical consequences for their children afterwards. And it's a horrid little thing. But yes, men can't live without women, and women can't live without men. When it comes to matters of the house, men are completely incompetent. When it comes to matters of strength and things like that, men are biologically superior. Women are the thinkers. Men are the doers. But then the balance can sometimes change. Men can be the thinkers, women can be the doers, and the balance constantly changes. There's always a mix. But people seem to think, as well, that women are more oppressed than they are. And they're not, to be fair. And now, because I like to change topics when I run out of things to say on them, to the next topic. Millennials. Special little snowflakes they are. There's a problem with millennials that I find slightly aggravating, and that's their stance on humor. I believe their stance on humor is revolting. Humor is satirical. Take, for example, if a black person makes a racist joke about black people. No one's going to say anything about that, because they believe that he has the right to make a racist joke about black people. But then, if a white person makes that same joke, they're being racist. But if the white person has no intention of being racist, and has the same intention as the black person, as satire, then, well, there shouldn't really be a problem with it. I think it was a couple of years ago, maybe last year, maybe this year, I don't know. But on a show in the UK called Britain's Got Talent, there was this guy who made who had cerebral palsy, who made disabled jokes. And from the one I've heard, because personally I don't watch Britain's Got Talent, the jokes were actually funny, and they were all about cerebral palsy and disabilities. The man could make jokes about his disability. But what I find funny is, if I made a joke like that, that person might laugh. But then a millennial will go, I find that offensive because yada yada yada. And I don't believe that's fair, because a millennial has no right to be offended at something like that if they are not affected with it. I believe that if a person who is affected with it is not offended by it, then the joke should be allowed to stand. There are always injustices, of course. But millennials take everything too far. They ruin everything. I mean, I'm the generation that comes after them, and we're only known as the generation that comes after millennials. We have nothing at the moment. We're just known as the ones that came after the horror of millennials. We'll outlive them. Then we have to fix all the shit they fucked up. And, like, they don't like swearing, they don't like profanities. You can't insult a person, which is difficult for people from where I'm from, because insulting is a natural part of how we talk to each other. My friendships are built on insults and abuse. But I can explain how it works. Instead of letting all your gripes about your friends build up like a bile or an explosive, we constantly let it out. Thus, for meaning, the friendship has an easier time being around, instead of one day you having enough, completely exploding, and your friendship getting ruined. I have an example of this too, with one of my other friends who I've had a friendship with since primary school, and we recently stopped being friends because he'd gotten over-aggravated about an argument which I personally didn't care too much for. I ended up giving him a "don't be stupid" tap over the back of the head, and he came and whacked me straight in the eye, and it ended up descending into a fight. The friendship has not recovered due to the fact that I personally cannot be asked with the hassle that it is to rebuild a friendship that holds no merit. Some may say his excuse is he has dyspraxia. But it's not an excuse. Some doctors believe I have autism. They believe I have dyslexia. They believe I have this, that, and the other. But I don't use it as an excuse. I mean, I've used many things as excuses in my time, to be fair. And it's just generally what humans do. They make excuses about whatever they want. But back to the point, which I need to remember what it is now. I apologize for the silences, the stuttering of my voice, the whole changing from topic to topic inconsistently. Right, yes, millennials. But millennials seem to ruin everything because they think their opinion matters, when in reality it matters about as much as a fly on a wall. It's there. The only reason people take note of it is because it's a minor annoyance and people don't like flies. None of our opinions truly matter. It's like all the stuff we make doesn't truly matter. And I'm sorry if it gets a bit depressing here, but this is just my standpoint. The value of money is a myth. It's the myth that builds society, but it's also the myth that makes society horrid. Money holds no value. It's a little piece of paper that says, I promise you this amount of money worth this amount of nothing. When it comes to the way things used to work, it made sense. Gold is valuable. Kind of. It has a value humans put on it. Iron has a value. We put the value on it, but the value can actually be seen. We put the value of iron can be used to make swords and material and houses and things like that. But what can money do? Money. It is a small piece of paper or plastic, depending on where you are from, that has a few numbers on it that says, I proceed to pay $10, £10, 10 rupees, or whatever. But that's all it does. It just says, I promise to pay this amount of something. But in reality, all you're saying is, I will give you this piece of paper if you give me 16 bloody steaks. And to me, it doesn't make too much sense. But I digress. Society is on the verge of its collapse. Some may encourage it to collapse. Some may believe that its collapse is a horrid thing. I personally think that its collapse is not a good thing or a bad thing. The reason it might be good is so that society can rebuild itself into a utopia. The reason it's bad is we have to go back a couple of 100,000 years to rebuild it, don't we? It's not as if we were in a good place anyway. We've never been. Humans are a vile, disgusting creature that believe they are better than everything else. Why, humans believe they're not even animals. They hold themselves above animals. It's why they can find things disgusting that other animals have no opinion on. Excuse me for a minute, I just have to have a drink. I apologize for drinking sounds. Anyway, humans believe they aren't animals, so they are disgusted with the things animals do. Which in turn limits human ability. A human won't run on 4 legs because they believe it's animalistic, and because it's a bit more difficult, to be fair. There are benefits to not believing in animals. The cleaning up of feces and urine, the taking care of yourself and things like that. But there are also deficits, like the constant focusing on appearance to make yourself less like an animal. The massive superiority complex that comes with it. And, you know, all that stuff. Like, there was a stage in human evolution where we ate nothing but plants. But it wasn't sustainable. So we had to start eating meat. But vegans believe that we can go back to eating just plants, even after evolution has dictated that we now must eat meat to survive. Their argument is, we can survive now because we have supplements and things like that. Scientists have not figured out the long-term effect of supplements properly yet, especially on a person that has a diet consisting of only, lacking in many food substances. Dairy, meat. I'm pretty sure fish as well. They don't eat fish, do they? They don't eat anything or use anything related to animals. I'll be honest, I doubt they'd even ride a horse. I mean, what I believe is, animals should be killed when necessary, but if unnecessary, they should be treated with fairness and camaraderie, because we are animals and they are we. Pigs have skin that can be used like human skin. They're going to be trying to grow limbs and things on them, which does bring up ethical concerns, but I'm not a man of ethics. As most people would tell you if you knew me. I'm a man of a complete lack of ethics. I've been called a horrid person many times. But it's all, it's all beyond our control at the moment. Unless a significant amount of people agrees with me, my opinion means nothing. A constant amalgamation of small particles eventually makes an element, like a smaller, very many amounts of an atom which weighs nothing, or almost nothing, eventually builds up to make, say, iron or gold. It's the same with opinions. An opinion can only be valid if a certain amount of humans, or a large amount of humans, believes in it. Like God. God is actually subjective or objective. I can't tell the difference. God varies on to each person, because a very long time ago, people believed that the animals were gods. But nowadays, Christians would believe that's stupid. It is funny, though, that the religion that claims to be all-inclusive and the greatest since sliced bread is actually the least inclusive, and horrifyingly racist, homophobic, and all things like that. I myself am unreligious, at this point anyway. I was supposed to be Christian, but matters of the universe tend to dictate that great-grandparents dying during that time is not a good time to have a bloody baptism, is it? I believe there might be something out there that created it all, but I don't believe it was one person. The ability to create everything is too much power for one to hold. I believe it must have been divvied up, so that if one god went mad, the entire universe could keep existing the same way it did, just with a few changes, instead of one deity going mad and the universe is changed forever. It makes more logical sense. Though religion and logical sense don't really go hand in hand. I will be ending this video now. I apologize for the mishmash nature of it, and, you know, the constant jumping from topic to topic, but if you do like it, say so in the comments section. And if you have any contradicting opinions to mine, leave them in the comments section. I'd be interested to listen to them, because in my house I don't really get too much of that. I thank you all for listening and watching, though there's not really much to watch, and I bid you all good night and farewell.